everyone, and welcome back to the Feature Crew. Today, we're checking out a new release from OpenAI, and it's in the AI coding assistant sort of vein of tools, and it's an extension for VSCode that allows ChatGPT client on both Mac and Windows to communicate directly with your IDE. So I think it's VSCode, Xcode for Mac and iOS development, and then I think there might be one more supported IDE. It also supports Terminal. So let's dive right in. All right, so we're all set up. On the left, you can see the VS Code window with the extension that we have installed. It's got a very beta name and install process. It's like very much in preview state. The extension is called ChatGPT, work with VS Code on macOS. So it actually might be limited to macOS in this first release. So as you can see in the ChatGPT client, once you have the extension installed in your IDE, then you see this new sort of input button, I guess, works with button, and you can choose with the IDE that you have open on your OS, and so it shows that both Terminal and TextEdit are also supported, but I don't have them open right now. And then VS Code I do obviously have open. So when you select VS Code, it will automatically start piping in whatever's on screen, like whatever text is on screen, whatever file's on screen in your VS Code view, and it'll pipe that over to ChatGPT. It also follows your selection. So we can start with something simple. I'm actually interested to see what happens when I don't have a file open. So I'll just ask, explain this workspace. So for context, this workspace is the tool that we showed, a quick plug for our AI image generator test video. It's a simple web tool that lets us like run a bunch of image requests at the same time and then show them side by side. I just needed some code to plug in here. So it says looks at code. It doesn't reference what code it looked at. Project being developed. It says likely a project being. It clearly doesn't really have much context here.
It does at least pick up node space, so maybe it's giving some kind of metadata. But you're right. Like this is a great first test to be like it does not have the full workspace available to it. Like very clearly they have said, oh, it's like whatever's on your screen, etc. But yeah, so that kind of. As we move forward, there's going to be things where you're like, oh, tell me about all this. It's not going to work. It's really just going to be whatever's on your screen.
Okay, interesting. So I asked, it doesn't seem to have the project, like the files in context, and it's just hallucinating this right now, although it's fairly close.
To be fair, I appreciate that they said example Node.js. Like I get maybe this is like a very early beta and stuff like that. So they're probably trying to get around this by saying like, oh, they allow it to hallucinate instead of saying, I don't know. But this is still an interesting design decision to allow it to hallucinate like this.
So now I'll see what it looks like if we, ask about a specific file, which is what it's intended for. So we'll start with something just like, let's say a React component. I'll open this model select component, which is just a drop down that lets you choose a model. And I'll say, explain this file. So you can see it has the whole, basically it has the whole file as context, and it starts running through an explanation of the file. This is what you would expect in something like GitHub Copilot chat or Cursor chat. It basically just pipes in the context from your workspace. I think the difference here is that it's directly mapped to what you have on screen. So instead of something like Copilot chat or Cursor where you can reference files specifically inline in your chat message, this seems a little more limited, where you really have to open up the thing in your IDE that you want ChatGPT to have in its context.
And that would be pretty tedious, honestly, if you're using it for anything realistic, because it's not like these are two separate screens. The left is VS Code as an app, the right is the ChatGPT Mac OS app. So it's like you'd have to change, then Alt tab, or Command tab, whatever it is, to switch. I know for other like chats, but you do something similar, but it'd be in the chat pane. If you go to the top, does it say that it's referenced a file?
It does. It does note. Let's see. It does note under the looked at code. It has a reference for what file it looked at. Okay. And then if let's say I want to ask a question about just this handle model change function, so I'll highlight it in VS Code. And now if I ask,
I like that it's come up with the little. Do you see working with code the 31? I can't quite see the numbers, but
27 to 32. Yep.
Yeah.
So right above the chat bar, it has the reference, and So it makes it clear to the user like what is being selected. Like maybe these windows wouldn't be side by side like we have them here, so that would be super helpful if you're tabbing back and forth. Yeah, and so it's basically like this. The purpose of this video is not to test 4.0's coding ability, basically, right? But rather to test this feature that allows you to pipe in context from your IDE. And so I think like one thing I want to try. We've asked some questions about the file. Another common use case, very common when you're using Copilot, is actually creating code or editing a file. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'll say create.
You might need to unselect, by the way, before you Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So I've unselected that function, so now it has access to the whole model select file again, and I'm going to ask it to create a chat view that implements model change. So I'll just see what it can do in terms of creating a new file that's based on something that we've already made in our IDE. So it does a little bit of sort of chain of thought at the beginning, thinks through it. Again, this is like classic ChatGPT behavior. I think the thing to note is that this is just a normal ChatGPT code block, right? Like as in any ChatGPT conversation, there's no UX affordance other than the copy for doing anything with this code block, which is in contrast to if you've used the ChatGPT plus Canvas feature. It does have UX for doing things with what's been generated and making edits that ChatGPT suggested permanent.
And
right?
Canvas isn't really in the macOS X app right now, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
So at the end of the video, what we'll do is we'll pull up Canvas so we can kind of show you side by side what the difference is. But and there is some future there with the two of them together, but right now they're separate features.
And then frustratingly, it looks like you can't, as you said, there's no way to push the code. Like if you actually ask it, hey, can you edit the file? What does it say? Does it just completely give us code block, or does it say no, can't do that at all?
If I ask it to edit create the file.
Or to edit something in file.
Oh, to edit something in the file. Okay. Well, let's.
It doesn't work, but it'd be interesting to see what it kind of does by default.
Oh, here.
I wonder if we'll get a peek at like what their V2 will be if they actually allow both ways.
So I'm asking for an update to the model select. I'm adding it just to add a log to a specific part of the file. And, it added the login. But there's, like Dylan was alluding to, there's no way other than just copy and pasting this over manually to actually accept these changes back into my IDE. It's a little weird to see this, one-directional integration here. Especially when there are so many tools out there with both read and write. And like we were saying before, chief among them are Copilot and Cursor, which are the sort of the established versions of these tools.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising in its current form. I'm assuming this is just to be a very early beta. Maybe for educational uses, it's good, but I don't see any real production value out of this. It's, as you say, it's too cumbersome. You have to either switch or you just look at one file. It doesn't have full file view, doesn't go both ways. I mean, it's good that you can kind of give this to O1 or O1 preview mini, whatever, maybe that can help you analyze the code better. But aside from that, this is not adding much value to whatever the existing tools currently are. It's exciting to see that they're kind of acknowledging and starting this roadmap, but as it stands right now, it's kind of limited.
I guess basically, I think this would be most useful for somebody who doesn't want to pay for Copilot or Cursor and maybe you're already paying for ChatGPT, so you already have access to O1 and the new models and whatever the new features are in the client in ChatGPT. And so in that case, if you're writing code and you want to ask a question and you don't have Copilot, then I could see this being useful there. But I think we're going to need to see some changes, particularly on supporting that right part of the flow before this is actually super useful.
And to be fair with Canvas, it could be pretty killer to use this to kind of get things into Canvas. And, I think OpenAI has been, there's the rumor mill about agents and, getting control of your computer. So maybe a lot of this is just starting to have different entry points. But yeah, as it stands, I agree with that. Maybe the case is you just don't have anything else and you want to use this. Otherwise, I don't see it being super useful, at least for like, enterprise or even like hobby use, to be honest. And to be very clear, like from what I've seen, like this is kind of like a not talked about feature that much. It's not that they're like, this is the big new thing. We just wanted to jump on and see what it was like, get an early react out for everyone.
Yeah, and to expand a little bit on what Dylan's saying, first of all, for those who don't know, this is the Canvas experience in the ChatGPT web client. When you select Canvas and you ask for some sort of artifact file, then it opens up this split screen view where you get the artifact on the right. And like we were saying before, because this new VS Code integration is only available on the Mac client, on the desktop client, and then the Canvas feature is currently only available on the web client, you can't use them together. But the Canvas experience here, and plug for our Canvas video, has some really cool UX, right? We have a video for both actually writing with Canvas and coding with Canvas, and it's got some UX that's really great for both of those use cases. And so I could see a world, I mean, you just saw me ask for this AI model select component, and it generated something somewhat similar to what we were looking at before, but it's not using the right libraries, it's not importing the right files, and you can imagine where if I imported from my IDE using the import extension and then was able to pipe that into Canvas, these two features together could be a really compelling use case, and you get all the benefits of these UX, this inline UX, the commenting, the agent, it's a sort of semi-agentic editing experience that's available in Canvas. So, Dylan, I don't know if you had anything to add there, but I wanted to call this out because I'm super excited for, while both of these features are somewhat limited on their own, I think when they finally put them together, that's when Cursor and Copilot will start having to answer questions, basically.
I agree. I mean, as it stands, it's kind of a missed opportunity, right? Because of the, as you say, like only the VS Code extension is available on one, only Canvas available on web app. As it stands right now, like it's very, very limited. Plug for our Canvas video, like that was awesome, and I could see a massive amount of value being unlocked just having that. So I wonder what comes first, whether they put Canvas on the Mac app, because then that's a killer experience. Right now, you're like kind of pulling the code into, OpenAI world as opposed to leaving it in the IDE. So I wonder which way they want to go.
Yep. So Dylan, I don't know if you had any other tests you wanted to run here. I think I've made my conclusion, which is that I'm probably not going to use this feature until we get some more useful aspects, until it's better to challenge the existing coding tools more effectively. But I do see the limited use cases, especially if you're starved for like, I understand why non-AI people don't want to have 1 billion AI subscriptions on their card every month. And so if you're trying to consolidate in ChatGPT, you should be very interested in this feature and its future, because it might start to bring some of the features and some of the, at least, value of the separate subscription coding tools like Cursor and Copilot to you in the ChatGPT experience. So I'm excited for that as well. Dylan, anything to add?
Nothing to add. Just plus one to all that. Cool to see it kind of coming through. And again, not the best as is, but they haven't claimed it to be this massive thing. I think it's mainly just a bit of a catch-up game. It's just something that they're like working on. And from that lens, it's just nice to see. Nothing to really like go like, this sucks or this is really great. Just good to see it here. Good that we got to react to it, and hopefully folks can play around with it as well.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope this makes the process of figuring out if this, like, what this feature is and if you want to use it a little bit easier. Definitely let us know what we should try next. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and if you want to stay along for the journey, please subscribe. I think I also wanted to apologize that it's been a little over a week since our last video. This is the super busy time of year at work. We've got a ton of deadlines coming up, so we'll be back with more content, particularly through the winter and stuff when we're less busy. But right now we're only doing videos on the important stuff. So yeah, definitely let us know, and thank you for sticking along with us.
Thank you all.